Doctors could be on the brink of a breakthrough.
Migraines.
How to control them.
Tame a migraine.
A severe migraine.
Throbbing, recurring headaches.
Given all the noise, navigating the migraine experience can be confusing and scary, but you do not have to do it alone. Welcome to the Migraine Guy Podcast, the official podcast of themigraineguy.com and theheadachereview.com. Now, here's your host.
What is up, pod people? It's Kevin here, the Migraine Guy, bringing you today's podcast. Since this is podcast number 10, wanted to do something somewhat special. Additionally, starting July 10th, which is a few days from today, there's going to be another online headache and migraine summit that you can watch for free just by registering. I'm going to put the registration link in the show notes below, so click on that. You can see who's speaking, what their topics are. You can register for free for access to the conference. In today's podcast, something special we're doing, I'm interviewing the lead organizer for this summit, Marta Taylor. Marta Taylor has a variety of social media accounts you can follow her on. She also has a podcast called Living Limitlessly, and she has a website, livinglimitlessly.com. You can check out all of the things that she advocates for and is interested in. The thing that we talk about most as relates to her interest and experience are headache and migraine issues and organizing a conference like the one that is starting July 10th. So that is what today's podcast is going to be. The interview went for about an hour, and so I'm breaking up the interview into two separate podcasts, today's podcast and then one that I'll probably upload in the next couple days. We do some generic question and answers about her experience with migraine, and then we get into some friendly back and forth about different approaches to your overall health as relates to your migraine treatment. So that was pretty fun. Additionally, I had a few technical issues in the beginning, so thank you again to Marta for your patience. And since we were using Skype to record the audio, occasionally there are some gaps in the audio just because of internet-related issues. Overall, the interview is really good, really worth listening to, and some of the technical issues that arise are annoying, but don't take away, I don't think, from the overall quality of the interview. So without further ado, here is the first part of our interview. So, who is Marta Taylor, and why does she care about migraine sufferers?
Well, I care about migraine sufferers because I am one of those people. And, you know, having had first-hand experience with migraines, I can definitely relate to other people now who also suffer from it. And I wouldn't say that I get the worst migraines in the world, but of course everyone feels their own pain. So when I have my own migraines, I'm not liking them at all. And, you know, the interesting thing is I actually had late onset of migraine. They usually come on, you know, either early childhood in the 20s, and I didn't start getting mine until my late 30s.
Okay.
And I mean, you know, it started off, and I just thought it was going to be, you know, a one-off thing. You know, I've had a really bad headache. Yeah. I'm vomiting, and it's lasted for 2 or 3 days, and that's it. I won't get one again. And it wasn't like that at all. It kind of off as a slow burn, but then started to get more and more frequent. And then all of a sudden, I was having. I remember when it, you know, kind of when it ramped up a little bit. There was a 10-day period, and I had. It was either, I think it was like 2-3 day migraines or something like that. So, and I, you know, I was still going to work, but it was bad news. So I care about migraine sufferers because I know how much I feel like I'm suffering when I get them. Yeah. And it's been, you know, a number of years now since that started. So that was early 2010 when that started for me. And for the first couple of years, I was just thinking, you know, I was still thinking it will kind of pass. You know, I'm just going through a phase of some sort. And
very
it didn't.
Mindset, I think.
That's right. It will go. But, and then, you know, I went to see the doctors, and they just, I remember actually in the beginning stages, I went to the doctor and I said, you need to give me an MRI because I'm pretty sure I have a brain tumor or something like that. And he said, no, it sounds like a migraine, so just go off apples, chocolate and coffee. And of course, yeah, that's right. That was his answer. And take the migraine tablets.
Yeah.
And I ended up anyway. I didn't go off the coffee, but I did notice though that going off the little bit of chocolate that I had just as an experiment actually did make a difference. So I went off it for a little bit for a couple of months because I didn't eat that much anyway. And then I thought, okay, one day I'm going to have this. And then I noticed that dull ache coming on. Yeah. And I went, how interesting. And I think that was that pivotal moment for me when I realized, wow, maybe food actually has a role in whether I get the migraine or not. Because, migraineurs generally know about triggers, but for me this was a new field that, I hadn't really had to worry about before.
Yeah.
So I guess based on that, I started experimenting with food a little bit more. So I did go off the coffee as a test, but it didn't make a difference. In fact, if anything, I noticed that sometimes having coffee helped my migraine,
Sure.
like for it to come on. And then I started just exploring other things. I mean, I'd always seen a chiropractor on a regular basis, but just doing more stretching and yoga and, just experimenting with, because I really noticed that for me, my migraine stemmed from my neck, the base of my neck, and then went from there. So, experimenting with how I could ease that tension in my neck. So, and because that made a difference over a period of time, and of course now we're a few years into my migraines, and I was reading up a little bit more about it, I kind of ended up coming to the conclusion that, migraines, well, from my experience, aren't always just one of those things that you're a migraineur and once you get them, you have to live with these things for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. So I kind of delved into that a little bit more, and I just happened to, then in 2015, I happened to go for a test for, I went to a naturopath and she gave me a leaky gut test and I was positive for leaky gut. So then based on her recommendations, I altered my diet to suit the leaky gut, and surprise, surprise, my migraines reduced even more in duration, frequency and severity. So, so it kind of was a bit of over a long period of time, with the more information that I gathered and things that I learned and things how I experimented on myself, it really solidified for me that I don't think that as a migraineur, that's it, you're doomed to have migraines for the rest of your life. You might be susceptible, so I definitely believe that migraineurs have a susceptibility, and so you're more vulnerable to getting migraines, but that there's some kind of other underlying cause these days because we have so many, factors contributing to us getting migraines. So whether it's environmental toxins or food, nutrition, things like that. So basically, I guess that's not the short version, that's a longer version, maybe a medium version of why do I care so much about migraine sufferers? Because I've been there and I'm still haven't got rid of them fully myself, but then again, I also haven't got rid of my leaky gut fully, so that's a work in progress. But I'm definitely a long, long way from where I was when they first started back in 2010, and I was totally debilitated and sick. So I'm in a much better place, and I guess that's what I want to share with other migraine sufferers, that we need to have them now for the rest of your life. Go searching for a root cause.
Okay. And just real quick, what exactly is leaky gut, and then what was the dietary change you saw affecting it? Could you give us a little detail about that?
Yeah, definitely. So leaky gut, it's not a conventional issue that most Western doctors recognise, although there have been more studies done on it in the last couple of years. So it's also Western doctors will refer to it as intestinal permeability. And basically what it means that in your gut lining, you've got these little junctures. And in a healthy person, what they should be doing is when you eat food and the food is passing through, they should be closing up so that food doesn't pass through your gut lining into your bloodstream. So if you've got leaky gut, basically there's something wrong with those junctures and they're not closing properly. So that means that the food will pass through your gut lining into your bloodstream. Now, if you've got any foreign bodies in your bloodstream like food, then your body starts launching an immune attack on it. And so it's actually attacking the food and nutrition that you need because it's in your bloodstream, which is not where it should be, and attacking it. So then therefore once it attacks those things, that food, nutrition, then that basically cycles back around now and goes through your liver, which places a heavy burden on your liver. So if you think that all the food that you should be eating should be passing through your gut and going off to, you know, wherever it needs to go to, instead it's gone into your bloodstream, you're actually going to get inflammation now, because once your body launches an immune attack, then there's all this inflammation going on to protect your body as well. And it recycles back through your liver. Now your liver's overburdened, doing double the work that it should be doing. And basically that combination of things is what's causing the headaches, or can cause headaches, which was the case for me. So some of the recommendations, and there's going to be different types of food recommendations depending on how severe your leaky gut is, and you know there's different even types of leaky gut. So for me, I have stressed gut, so most of my issues stem around, you know, just this constant stress, and that's just me, my personality, you know, my body, that's how it reacts. Whereas other people, I won't go into all the different leaky gut types, but Josh Axe has some really good categories of leaky gut types. But for me, one of the main things, so having the stress gut, is, you know, to eat more fermented food, to stay away from cold foods, because stress gut doesn't do well with digesting, you know, raw, cold foods, to have more warm foods. Definitely, for me, the big thing was staying away from grains. So I had actually started to go paleo before I was diagnosed with the leaky gut. So I already had seen a little bit of a difference, but then taking it to another level, once I knew I had leaky gut, that made an even bigger difference. So grains are, you know, not for everybody, but for most people, grains are quite inflammatory, or can cause an inflammatory reaction in the body, as well as I'm just allergic to wheat. So I don't have celiac disease, but I definitely have an allergic reaction to wheat, so no wheat for me. So those were the main dietary things. I'm just trying to think back as well if there was anything else that I can... Oh, going off dairy, definitely no milk. And cheese was another big thing. So I cut out the dairy altogether. So the only dairy I was really having was in my coffee, but I cut that out altogether as well, and then that definitely made a huge difference.
Okay, so
in a nutshell, that's leaky gut.
Okay. So it sounds like the way in which you began approaching ways to reduce your migraine frequency and intensity have connected nicely with the topics that are going to be covered in the summit coming up. It seems like there's a host of specialists that have things to say about nutrition, a host of specialists that have things to say about supplements and hormones and that kind of stuff. So would you walk us through a little bit how a summit like this versus the other summit that came up, which had a little bit more about like medical research that's going on for new medications and that kind of stuff, your summit that's coming up seems more focused on kind of the DIY migraine, or someone who can start analyzing their diet, start analyzing X, Y, and Z that they can control and they can start doing things about?
Yeah, sure. So it is important to distinguish that they're two very different summits. And so just because you've listened to the World Migraine Summit, you're not going to get any of the same information as if you're going to listen to our chronic headache and migraine summit. Yeah. And, you know, the thing about the two summits is that the World Migraine Summit was definitely focused on the latest research, the latest pharmaceuticals and things like that. Whereas I don't know if I'd call it do it yourself, as you refer to it. But I definitely would like to think of it in terms of, you know, you yourself being the CEO of your own body, of your own health, you know, and going off to find the rest of the practitioners or clinicians that are going to be on your board of directors who are going to help you find, you know, the root cause of your problems. So I think with our summit, my goal was to get people to think beyond just what their doctor has told them is, you know, you're a migraineur and you're going to get migraines and here, take these tablets. So just to go a little bit beyond that and do some of your own detective work and go and investigate whether there's something else going on here. So I actually forgot what your question was.
It was basically,
I know I'm on the right track.
I was just trying to get you to, well, I was just trying to do a smooth transition from the kind of dietary approach to your migraines, and now a conference that has a lot of speakers talking about
yes.
diet and supplements and hormones and that kind of stuff, rather than the other summit. So whatever you have to say is probably relevant. There's no specific question, I think.
This is one of those bloopers roll moments. So definitely, you know, this summit, what it does, and going on from what I've just said, so what this summit does is it introduces people to a host of different topics that they can start maybe thinking about, you know, are these some of the symptoms that I'm experiencing aside from my migraine? So if we push migraines to one side, are these some of the symptoms that I'm having just generally? So if it's in relation to, you know, hormones, you know, when was the last time that you had a blood test? Because I know most people that I know go to the doctor, and maybe, like, I can use my sister, she'll never listen to this podcast, as an example. The last time she had a blood test was about, I think, 3 years ago, when she wasn't feeling well, and not had one since. And then if you ask her, you know, she might go get one, and if I was to say to her, what was the result, she'd go, I don't know, the doctor's got it. Well, you know, that's great that the doctor's got it, but why aren't you looking at it? Why aren't you more interested in your own results and what the blood tests say? So I think for me, this summit ties into, you know, what my website is about, living limitlessly, and that's really understanding your body, your health, and taking charge of it. So, you know, the summit was an extension of take charge of your migraines as well, and don't just rely on the doctors. And I don't want to take away from their expertise and what they know, but they also don't know everything, is the bottom line. So I just think if you don't want to suffer for the rest of your life with such debilitating pain, then go do some investigation and see if you can find something else that might actually be the root cause. And once you treat that root cause, I mean, even if it reduced your migraines, wouldn't that be, you know, worth something?
That's true. That's definitely something that I like about the idea. I mean, I don't know. DIYing to me is kind of fun because I like building and breaking
well, it
things.
is kind of, yes. So, yeah.
Yeah. But at least, you know, if you're in my position, right, you're in grad school, the migraine medications that you've tried have had, you know, in general, either no help, have provided no help, or have like high enough levels of cognitive issues that I can't really function in school and take the meds. Then, you know, well, why don't I start taking a little melatonin in the evening? Why don't I start taking some magnesium? Why don't I try to cut out certain kinds of foods? Even if it's not going to help me, at least it's something that I can do under my own control and not have to really worry about the side effects, right? Like, as long as the supplement brand that I'm taking is pretty reliable, then I don't have to worry about many negative side effects from like magnesium, other than maybe some of the normal things that people are aware of, or, you know, X, Y, or Z. It gives you a little bit more maybe, I don't know, control might not be the best word, but it gives you the ability to choose things on your own outside of like the medical field. And that can be helpful. I certainly know a lot of people that have seen results from magnesium, a lot of results from butterbur, fever, those kind of things. A lot of other people have said, going paleo has helped to a certain degree to reduce their migraine frequency and intensity. So I definitely like the idea of incorporating things that are not what your normal doctor is going to talk to you about when you go in, because you're getting, headache after headache after headache, or migraine after migraine after migraine. So certainly a good thing, I think. So how did you get 30?
Well, it is. And can I just comment, because you've said some really important things there. It is actually taking control. You are taking control. And what we also have to remember is that when you go see your doctor or your neurologist, how often are you seeing them? You're only seeing them, most people aren't seeing them once a week. Don't know about once a fortnight, maybe once a month or once every couple of months.
A fortnight
they have no
is
idea.
14 days, by the way, right? For those of us.
Correct. Oh, sorry. Americans don't use that term.
British monarchy.
A fortnight is every 2 weeks. Correct.
Right. Good. Whew. Okay.
So you aren't seeing them that often. So what do they really know about what you go through day in, day out? So when you start experimenting with things, and this is the important thing to note here, is that what works for one person might 100% not work for another person. So it's very much about an individualized approach. So everybody has to really get in tune with their own bodies. And we live with ourselves, and we've got the time, and we notice everything. So it's the perfect thing to do. And, if you're going to take this approach, then you might start off with, I don't take magnesium, I'm going to start taking magnesium, and I'll start on this dosage for a couple of weeks and see if that makes a difference. No impact, I'll up the dosage, to whatever. And, okay, I've been sleeping better. And it is important to definitely take some kind of diary notes, journal notes, and it doesn't have to be every day, but even if you did it weekly, because it's a good look back to say, hey, you know what, I didn't realise, but last week normally I wake up a couple of times during the night, and last week I didn't wake up at all, or I only woke up one night. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
so
definitely.
You are taking control, and you have I don't know if luxury is the right word, but you have the luxury of being in your own skin and noticing the very subtle differences that the doctors definitely will not, because they don't know anything about you except for what you tell them anyway, and that's in a very short period of time, about a longer period of time. And the other thing is, with all of the medication, they actually, especially when people have chronic migraines and they're taking it very regularly, they are causing more migraines. So the toxicity within the medication themselves is an issue.
Which medications are you talking about specifically?
Well, all of them. So if somebody's taking a lot of any of the migraine medications, that's a problem, because they're chemical based. So there's a lot of issues about having those rebound effects from taking the medication.
That's true, but rebound headaches only come from a certain subset, right? Like,
I don't want to talk too much about it because I don't actually know a lot about that topic. I think somebody in the summit is talking about that. I've just forgotten who, because I didn't interview every single person myself either. We've got two other hosts, Dr. Corey Schuler, who has his own headache clinic, and Erin Knight, and she has her website Engineering Radiance, which focuses on migraine. So, but there's definitely somebody in there talking about the toxicity of taking medication and the rebound headaches.
Okay. But I just want to be careful when we use the word like toxicity, because, I mean, you can kill yourself by drinking too much water, so in some sense that's toxic. But like 25 milligrams of amitriptyline every day, is that toxic? If we don't have studies, maybe.
Well, I guess yeah, and well, it's a good conversation starter, and I'm not going to profess to be an expert, like I said, but just think about taking any kind of chemicals and the build up in the system, because who's saying that those chemicals are actually going to be flushed out of the system in the most efficient manner, especially if you're getting migraines. You're probably going to have a lot of inflammation in your body in general, which means a lot of your organs and your detox systems aren't going to be working efficiently and effectively either. So, you know, I guess it's something to think about. So I can't be quoted as saying it's based on 100% science, but I think it can definitely be something that is something like a common sense approach to these type of things. And I think I've had conversations with who've said, well, you mustn't get very bad migraines if you don't take medication because I don't take any of which is 200% not true, because I can tell you right now that they have been very severe, and I still randomly get severe ones if I've done something in particular to trigger it. But I'm more concerned about having the chemicals in my body and the effect that has on my system overall. So it's an interesting subject, and I don't dismiss that some people can't take the pain or whatever, but, you know, it's something that everyone has to make a choice about themselves.
Sure. I guess the only thing that I suppose I would at least theoretically, argumentatively want to push back on a little bit is just
sure.
you wouldn't want to go so far as to say that like you could completely remove migraines independently of medication, right?
I just want to make sure I understand your question. So get rid of migraines without any medication?
Yeah, I mean, right, because the concern was toxicity, the concern was chemicals in your system that are, quote unquote, not natural, quote unquote, you know, brought on from the outside, designed in a lab, not by nature, those kind of claims. And so the worry would be by saying that since you don't want those things, that the only thing that remains would be diet, supplements, hormones, those kind of things. And so that would mean that the only way to appropriately address your migraines would be the non-medical approach. And that would seem like a pretty strong claim, especially one that would need some backing by numerous studies. And so... All right, pod people, that is where I'm going to stop this podcast. Make sure to listen to the next one to hear Marta's reply, and please listen to the following message. If you want to help keep everything that the Migraine Guy does free, then you can become a patron over at the website patreon.com. That's PATREON.com. Patreon lets people contribute funds to other people whose work they value. Becoming a patron does things for me, such as allowing me to buy new products so that I can do product review videos so that you know whether or not a given migraine product actually works before you buy it. It also helps me do things like upgrade the microphones and cameras for both the YouTube channel and this podcast. And more importantly, it helps me be accountable to you, my migraine community. You can pledge as low as $1 a month if you want to, and every single dollar does help. Just head over to patreon.com/themigraineguy to become a patron today.